If you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Yo. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking how? Everybody's choking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, loud. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. Choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up. Daddies, he know he won't have it. He knows his whole back to these ropes. It don't matter, he's dope. He knows that, but he's broke. He's so stagnant, he knows when he goes back to this mobile home, that's when it's back to the lab again, yo. This old rhapsody better go back to this moment and hope it don't pass him.
Listen, we can talk about the flag, but let's talk about... Wait.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM, right here on DSM Media. Man, it's a very good morning. It's such a good morning that we had to come live 20 minutes early today. 1 hour is not enough to talk about the Eagles' draft night success, the Sixers finishing off the Raptors, and the Phillies sweeping the Rockies. I mean, that's the trifecta in Philly sports there yesterday on Thursday. It's Friday now. We're going to break it all down. I'm your host, Phil Stifle, at Bearded Knowledge. My main man, Jason Voorhees, even waking up a few extra minutes early at Mustang 365. Good morning, Jason. And have you come down off that high of a successful Thursday in Philadelphia sports?
I'm not going to lie. So you and I were on the draft show last night. When we first heard that the Eagles had made the trade up, that was right. It was actually before you had already heard the Lions had traded up, because like all this news is ahead of what we're doing and what we're watching. So my first thought is, okay, the Eagles are trading up to get Jameson Williams, which I was super excited. I'm like, because that's the guy I really wanted in the draft, other than Kyle Hamilton. We'll get to that later. But anyway, Jameson Williams gets selected by, the Lions, and we take Jordan Davis. And I've come around on Jordan Davis after sleeping on it. I'm actually very, very excited about the guy. So that's where I was at last night. I'm pissed off. My Howie Roseman hate starting to my barometer's starting to go off, and I'm starting to freak out. And then all of a sudden, we hear the breaking news that the Eagles have acquired A.J. Brown, and all that angst and anger just kapoof, gone.
Boom, done.
I am excited. I am hyped. Dude, I love, honestly, if you haven't watched A.J. Brown and you've lived under a rock, this guy is a super exciting wide receiver. Not only is he last night I said he's top 5. Listen, it's semantics. He's a top 10 wide receiver with the capability of being an elite guy, and he's only 24 years old. He's a fun football player too. I can't wait to see you guys have some interviews. Like, we can watch some interviews.
So let's recap it exactly. So yes, last night, so the Eagles moved up from 15 to 13. They traded the 4th round pick 124, the 2 5th-round picks 162 and 166 to the Texans for pick 13. Now, like you said, we thought that was for Jameson Williams or Kyle Hamilton. It turns out that Jordan Davis was probably going to go to Baltimore, and the Eagles were dead set on Jordan Davis. They really wanted him. Something that I've talked about a lot on this show. Howie Roseman loves that defensive line. That's the building blocks of a foundation of a team. So you know what? A couple 4th and 5th round picks. In my opinion, it's not that bad. It's not an A+ trade, but it's a B+ trade. And you get a guy that is just a tank, a straight tank. And now you have the best defensive tackle rotation in football again. Because you got him, you got Milton Williams, you got Fletcher Cox, and you got Javon Hargrave. Fletcher Cox won't have to play more than 50% of the snaps. Fletcher Cox can be that rotational piece that conserves his energy for the important. It's a really, really strong trade. Now, it's not the trade we wanted because Kyle Hamilton was on the board, but that we'll get into that in a second. Then the second trade, getting AJ Brown, they traded the 18th pick and pick 101, their third round pick, for AJ Brown. Now let me just compare to you guys how much of a steal that is. And then of course they locked him up to a 4-year, $100 million, $57 million guaranteed extension, AJ Brown. Again, like you said, only 24 years old. The Cardinals and the Ravens made a trade for a wide receiver for Marquise Brown. The Cardinals gave up 23 and 100 for Marquise Brown. We gave up 18 and 101 for AJ Brown. Where on the pecking order is AJ Brown compared to Marquise Brown? There's a huge difference in quality of player there, and you basically gave up equal value in draft capital for two guys that are. I'm not trying to take anything away from from Hollywood Brown, from Marquise Brown. There, he's a really nice wide receiver, but he's nowhere near that top 10 elite status. So when you couple getting Jordan Davis and AJ Brown, the fact that we only have now 4 more draft picks, we got a second and a third tonight. We got a few other picks later in the draft later this weekend, but now we're only gonna have 5 draft picks. So less draft picks, less salary cap space to them. That's where you get your AJ Brown money. This draft, it's all. It doesn't matter what Howie Roseman does today or tomorrow. This draft is already a success by the 2 trades to bring in AJ Brown and Jordan Davis. It's an amazing thing, and I just keep looking at that trade for Marquise Brown that what the Cardinals gave up to get him, and I don't care even if Jordan Davis is a success. Howie Roseman won draft night by getting AJ Brown for almost the exact same value as Marquise Brown. It's insane to think about. It's insane.
I mean, I'm like, I'm in heaven right now because out of all the guys that were on the board, as far as obviously, listen, Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill, we get it. They're the number 1 and number 2 wide receivers in the league. So obviously they cost more, not only in draft capital, but also in money. But to get a guy like AJ Brown, I'm telling you, man, he is like, out of all the guys, out of DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, and AJ Brown, I'll take AJ Brown every day of the week over those 2. And that's not saying that they're bad, but AJ Brown is like an all-around type wide receiver. He's a big body guy. He plays bigger than he actually is. He's tough as shit. He played in that offense in Tennessee where it was basically a running offense, and he still had 2,000-yard seasons. Now, the only thing I will say as far as AJ Brown, the only concern I have is that he does have a little bit of an injury history as far as in the NFL. He's had a couple years where he's played 13 and 14 games. So he's missed a couple games in the year. But that being said, you look at him and you put him with Devonta Smith, it's like the perfect complement. You got Devonta Smith who can run every route on the tree. AJ Brown, I've seen him run, posts. I've seen him run the deep outs. He can do it pretty much everything too. So
you know what else is interesting about this trade? It's what have we been saying that Howie Roseman has been saying all offseason that 2022 is about Jalen Hurts, and he is going to surround Jalen Hurts and give him the best opportunity to succeed. I think going out and getting A.J. Brown shows his commitment to Jalen Hurts and the commitment that he's not bullshit. He wants to give him the weapons to see if he's the guy. If he's the guy, you have 2 more first-round picks next year to go out and get whatever you need on defense. Or if he's not the guy, and I said this last night, everybody knows I'm a Jalen Hurts guy. I want Jalen Hurts to be the man. But this is it. There is no 2022 and 2023 for Jalen Hurts. It's 2022. It's boom or bust for Jalen Hurts. You've gone out now. You have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. You've got Dallas Goedert locked up. You still got a strong running game because of your offensive line. It's it. This is it. This is Jalen Hurts' time to shine. Rent is due, if you want to use his cliche term from last year. There is no room for excuses for Jalen Hurts or Nick Sirianni at this point.
I mean, you're 100% spot on. And what's interesting to me is that the Eagles can actually go from having one of the worst wide receiver cores in the NFL to having maybe a top 10 core, because not only did you have A.J. Brown, but don't forget, you added Zach Pascal, who I know a lot of people were like, oh, Zach Pascal, who the hell is he? But Zach Pascal is actually he's young himself, and he's a guy that can grow. Obviously, you're not using Zach Pascal as a number one, but you have him in the rotation. Kes Watkins now can actually be a slot receiver, which I think he could thrive at.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was just going to say, how do you rate them? Because now you got your outside guys and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith-Quez in the 3 spot. That's my opinion. I think Pascal's your 4 wide receiver. Okay, which bumps Reagor to 5.
Reagor could be on his way out, honestly.
Reagor could be, because you still got Greg Ward. You got Greg Ward. You got Reagor. Ortega Whiteside's a tight end now. So you got Ward, Reagor, and Hightower still on this roster. They only started last season with 5 wide receivers. That means only one of those guys makes the roster. And you know they love themselves some Greg Ward. You might see tomorrow, not today, a day 3 trade of Jalen Reagor.
I'm not going to lie. I think it will. I think you will see it now.
You have no choice now because there's no room for him. You might be able to go get, a 5th round pick on Saturday and maybe a future conditional pick in 2023 for Jalen Reagor at this point. And you basically almost have to, because there's no room for him. Unless you only sign Zach Pascal to then cut him before the start of camp, which probably not. It's going to have to happen now.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think they're set up for success. I think you're right. I think Jalen Hurts, it's do or die. I mean, there's no excuse now for Jalen Hurts. He can't sit there and say, well, we don't have weapons, because, listen, it's Devonta Smith's second year. He's going to take a jump. He almost had 1,000 yards.
Take a jump just by putting A.J. Brown next to him. He's not going to see the double teams, the blanket coverage that he was seeing. He's going to be wide open on plays now. Now it's up to Jalen Hurts. Now we all talked about him not being able to find the wide open guy. So if he's only looking at A.J. Brown, maybe he doesn't look. I don't know. That is something we're going to talk about all off season, and when we start seeing camps and stuff like that. But man, I mean, you brought it up yesterday or last night on the draft show. A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts are like really close. Like
they're like best friends,
buddies. They've been working out all off season together. That chemistry, that connection off the field pays dividends on the field. So it's put up or shut up for Jalen Hurts. But man, it makes literally bringing in A.J. Brown it makes Dallas Goedert better. It makes Miles Sanders better, Boston Scott better, the offensive line better. It literally, one player on offense makes everything else better.
Yeah, I mean, he's, like I said, what I love about A.J. Brown is he's like that power yak type guy that's really loved in this league. He's able to break tackles. He doesn't just go down, and that just having that is going to be like a sight to see. I mean, how frustrating has it been as an Eagles fan to watch wide receivers drop passes or catch the pass and get tackled right away and not be able to make any kind of any plays at all.
Right.
No separation. You now have 2 guys that can create their own separation, run phenomenal routes, make contested catches. Dude, we have a gold mine here now. I'm excited.
I'm looking at his stats. I brought up his stats here. Last year he played in 13 games, so he missed 4. Again, the injury history is a thing there with A.J. Brown. He missed 2 games in 2020. He played the full 16 his rookie year, so he missed 2 and 4. So 6 games in the last 2 years he's missed. Yeah, I'm doing my math right. Last year in 13 games, 105 targets, 63 catches, 869 yards, 5 touchdowns. So his touchdowns were a little down. But in 2020, 14 games, he had 70 catches, 1075 yards, 11 touchdowns. The guy's a beast. He gets about 10 yards per catch. I'm just trying to look at all his numbers overall here. He's got a Pro Bowl. He was rookie of the year, third ranked rookie of the year's rookie year. I'm trying to find his advanced stats and stuff like that. He's over a 60 catch percentage.
His
which
rookie
is really
year, he
strong.
had 20 yards per reception.
Yeah.
And last year he dropped down to 13.8. But like I said, last year Tennessee's offense struggled as a whole. I mean,
right.
Ryan Tannehill kind of had a step back, and they had a lot of injuries. They signed Julio to complement AJ, and then Julio was out pretty much all year with injury. And Derrick Henry was out all year. So teams were able to double cover AJ Brown because he was the only weapon. So of course his number now, yes, he missed 3 games, but his numbers were a little down because you have to look at the bigger picture. Like somebody might just look at those numbers and say, "Oh, he had a bad year," but like I said, Derrick Henry was out all year. Who is Derrick Henry? I mean, 2,000 yards, right? 2 years ago. The guy's talking another beast. So, if you become all of a sudden double and triple team, of course your numbers are going to go down a little bit. But that's not a picture of who AJ Brown is. And like I said, the fact that he's only 24 is the super important thing.
I want to throw another thing here with the AJ Brown story. Is that where are all these people in the Eagles and the NFL circle? Nobody's going to want to come to Philadelphia and play with the Eagles because A, Jalen Hurts is not that good, or B, they're a running offense. If AJ Brown didn't want to come to Philly, he would have accepted the trade like anybody does and not signed immediately a 4-year extension. So I think that debunks that thought process pretty quickly there, does it not? I mean, it's pretty obvious that A.J. Brown wanted to come to Philly. And A.J. Brown, like you said, A.J. Brown came from a run-heavy offense to another. So he knows that run-heavy offense does not mean you can't make Pro Bowls or put up good numbers and get paid. He's actually the poster child now for a guy going to a team on a run-heavy offense and saying, look, you can still get paid as long as you do your job and do it effectively.
I mean, yeah, I like I said, I can't believe it. I'm still in shock. Like,
I know.
I'm in shock and excitement, but it's like, because I know before the draft, everyone was like, oh, well, will we trade for Deebo Samuel or will we trade for DK Metcalf? And you didn't hear as much about A.J. Brown. You heard A.J. Brown was on the block, but it was realistically out of nowhere last night because.
No, what was out of nowhere was my reaction because George and Dylan jumped in the live broadcast and like, oh, we just traded for A.J. Brown. I'm like, what? Why would we do that? I literally, because I had such a long day yesterday, thought I heard A.J. Green and everybody, you guys were all jumping and screaming. I'm like, why did we trade for an old dude? I literally heard A.J. Green. And then George throws his phone up to the screen. It's like, no, A.J. Brown, you idiot. I was like, oh, okay. That was probably not one of my proudest moments live on the air.
That was a Phil moment.
That was me working all day and then coming on and doing a show, working all day, coming on and doing another show, watching the Sixers game, watching the draft all at the same time. That's what that was. That was not my proudest moment at all. But yeah, AJ Brown much better than AJ Green, much more exciting than AJ Green. All right, so let's talk about the other pick for a second here. What's his name again?
Jordan
Davis. Sorry, I'm still not over the last night, and I'm still not over the energy that I expended last night. Jordan Davis, defensive tackle, literally a tank.
Oh.
There are questions about his motor, but I don't know if it was you or maybe it was Parcero last night brought it up, that maybe he wasn't playing every single snap because Georgia, their defense last year, was one of the greatest college defenses of all time. Not just of last year, of all time. And maybe he just there's so many talented players that they didn't need him to be out there 70% of the snaps or anything like that. Look, you win in the trenches. You win with a defensive line. The Super Bowl year we won because we had 9 guys rotating on that defensive line. This is a move that not only helps this year, but helps in the future because this is the last year probably for Fletcher Cox. You can actually now, at the trade deadline, trade Fletcher Cox this time if necessary. Javon Hargrave's probably only got 2 more years left. Milton Williams, you got Milton Williams and Davis now for the next 5 to 10 years, anchoring the middle of that defense. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be upset that they traded up to get him when Kyle Hamilton was still on the board. And yes, I wanted Kyle Hamilton just as much as everybody else. But what did I preach for the last 3 months? Howie's MO. Howie's MO. Howie's MO. His MO is defensive line, wide receivers. That's what he does in the first round. This is what we got to remember. Howie did build a Super Bowl winning team. And this is what got him there. So we should not be too upset. I'm going to be watching Kyle Hamilton's career for a long time, but we shouldn't be upset about this. This is if you take, everything as is, it's a smart move. And he gave up all those 4th and 5th round picks actually to help save money so he could go out and get A.J. Brown. It's not a lot of money, but every dollar counts on a salary cap, and that does actually help them get A.J. Brown.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Davis, to me, I think he has that freakish athletic talent. He's just – his size is immense. It's like a Jordan Mailata, only obviously on defense. But, like, the crazy thing is it was Parcero last night that did bring that up about Georgia, how great their defense was, and the fact that, Davis was more able to play in a rotation as opposed to just being a guy that's thrown out there all the time. Doesn't necessarily mean he can't do it. And I think he showed in combine that he does have a better motor than many might think.
Georgia's defense had 5 starters go in the first round last night. They had both tackles. They had the number 1 overall pick. They had a safety and a linebacker all drafted in the first round last night. That's how stout that Georgia. 5 first-round players from 1 defense.
I mean, I know that there was quite a few people that were a little bit down on the pick because obviously, like you said, we wanted Kyle Hamilton.
The initial reaction, I was pissed off.
Yes. But I'm looking at, like, I've since then, like I said, I kind of went back and I was reading articles and looking around and
let it marinate in the head a little bit.
There's quite a few people that actually thought that the Eagles should take Jordan Davis. Brandon Lee Gouton is one of them. Now I know, he does a lot of, his takes sometimes aren't always, 100% spot on. But Peter King actually had the Eagles drafting Jordan Davis at 15. Now, I don't think he gets to 15 because I think that's why Howie did make the trade because I think Baltimore wanted him. And
everything coming out. Like the initial thoughts, because we didn't know about A.J. Brown, was that they were trading up to get Williams, and Williams goes 1 pick. This was the fallback plan. Everything now, after you watch it all unfold, this was the plan all along. If Baltimore was going to get him, the fact that they even stayed and took Kyle Hamilton at 14 boggles my mind because they had just signed Marcus Williams to a big contract to play safety. But if they wanted Jordan Davis and that was Howie's top target, you have no choice but to make that trade. No choice.
And you know what? At the end of the day, like I said last night, I was pissed off. But I got to give kudos to Howie now 2 years in a row getting his guy. Yep. He was aggressive both years and got it done. Now, people could say, oh, he gave up too much. Okay, listen. In the scheme of things, what's an extra 4th round pick going to really do, especially when we all bitch how bad Howie is at the draft? Who cares? Right. You got your guy.
Yeah, so here's the other part of it is, not only did he get his guy, and I've been preaching this now for 2 years now. I've been preaching it for a long time, but 2 years now of podcasting. I want the Eagles to be drafting guys from Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, the top-tier programs because of 2 things. 1, that means they're most likely ready to go day 1. 2, they've played in big games already, so they're ready to go day 1. Georgia, I don't think anybody played bigger games in Georgia last year. This is what I want. I want Howie to stop reaching for the Georgia Southern Baptist Community College punter. I want guys that are playing in the college playoffs every single year. And that's what he did last year, getting 2 Alabama guys. This year, getting Georgia, the Georgia front guy, Jordan Davis there. That's showing the last 2 years Howie has shown that he may have turned a corner in his ability to be a GM. He really, really may have.
Yeah, I think Howie, like I said, time will tell, but I think these last couple of years, I think you're seeing, for all the people that bitch about the Justin Jefferson, miss and the DK Metcalf miss, everyone wants to bitch about that, but you got to give him credit for the Jordan Mailatas and the guys that he has gotten at later picks. And for the most part, like I said, I give him grief to this day for Derek Barnett, but Derek Barnett is what he is. He was a defensive end taken with the 15th or 14th pick. And a lot of times those middle range guys are the ones that don't pan out. It's not like you're getting that, elite guy at the top, like, the guys that we saw go off the board last night. So the top 4 picks were all defensive linemen.
Yeah.
Like,
so here's the question, because we're going to recap the whole entire first round in a minute, but I want to stay focused first on the Eagles. That was 110% a successful night one, right?
Absolutely.
So they only have 4 more picks. Obviously, they got the 19th pick tonight, pick 51 overall. Okay, what do the Eagles do now at 51? What do we want them to do? I've got on my screen the best available guys available. The 19th best guy available is a quarterback. Obviously, we're not going to draft a quarterback, Sam Howell. But you look at the guys that are on the board. There's only one quarterback. We'll get into it in a second, but only one quarterback went. So you're gonna have Willis. You're gonna have Corral. You're gonna have Riddler. You're gonna have 3 or 4 quarterbacks probably go in the second round here tonight. Okay, which is going to change up the way it goes. But Nakobe Dean, he's not going to fall all the way. Andrew Booth, him being available still, he's not going to fall all the way to 19. You got a Joby, maybe he falls and you save him for another year. You got Boya Mafe, who can play edge / outside linebacker. You got a couple other cornerbacks. The name that, obviously, did he go? I thought he didn't go. Did the safety from Penn State get drafted? I didn't think he did.
Bursker?
Yeah, he didn't get drafted, did he?
No.
Why is he?
That's who I'd like the Eagles to get.
He's not even in the top. He's actually not even listed in the top 20 players available, which is kind of weird, unless I'm misreading the screen here. Let me refresh it one more time. Yeah, the top 20. He's not even listed in the top 25 guys available right now. So maybe you get your safety here, Brisker, in the second round. There's a lot of defensive ends available. More defensive tackles. You got wide receivers available. You don't need to draft a wide receiver now. What would you got Alabama's inside linebacker, Christian Harris. He's ranked as the 25th best player available. I've seen some people like him for the Eagles. Or do the Eagles maybe take 51 and they trade back so that they can acquire, a couple more players in this second and third round? I don't know. What would you do if you're Howie Roseman at this point? Would you move up, get another slam dunk play, stay at 51, take the best available player at a position of need, or trade back?
I think they should trade back, get another second, or maybe get 2/3. Unless there's a player there that's like, that you're enamored with. But I will say I do like the safety from Penn State.
Right.
We do need a safety. It might make sense to take
a couple safeties. There's a couple safeties that are in the top 30 that are available right now.
Pritzker's not Kyle Hamilton, but he's not a slouch. Like, he's a guy that I think could come in and start for the Eagles, obviously.
I don't know a lot about this guy. The best safety on the board right now, again, I'm not a special draft expert. I don't know everything, is Jalen Petrie. He's a Baylor safety, 5'11", 198. He could play slot or safety, so he's kind of a hybrid kind of guy, something that Howie likes. He's ranked as the 18th best player available, period. He's ranked as the 49th player overall in this draft. 4th best safety in the draft overall. I mean, there's some options. I would like to see them go safety, obviously. I would like to see them address the offense now by adding A.J. Brown, unless you're drafting a quarterback, which you're not, or trading for a quarterback, which you're not. The offense is set. I mean, yeah, sure, you want to find a value running back in the 5th or 6th round? Sure, whatever. The offense is set. Howie needs to focus tonight on the defense. Whether it's safety, whether it's linebacker, whether it's cornerback. I honestly do not see, and I said it before, and I'll say it again. I don't think the Eagles are going to draft a cornerback tonight or tomorrow. They've spent a lot of money on cornerback. How many? I think there's like 7 or 8 cornerbacks on the roster right now. You got Zach McPherson, who you invested in last year. They traded for how many other guys that they may really be going into camp thinking that one of those guys is going to win that second job. So,
how about Daxton Hill? Is he still on the board?
Daxton Hill is still on the board, absolutely. So you've got the 19th pick in round 2 and the 19th pick in round 3 right now.
I wonder if you could trade up and take Daxton Hill because he's.
Let me see. I'm almost positive. I want to double
another
check.
Big school guy.
Maybe Daxton Hill is not on the board. I thought I saw him on the board. Nope, doesn't look like he. Hold on, Daxton Hill.
Yeah, from Michigan.
Let's see here.
Oh, he's a safety. It says cornerback. It says he's a cornerback, but
he is not on the board, so he must have gone. Let me see here. Let me look at the end of round 1. Yeah, let me look at. I'm just flipping from. Yeah, he went with the second to last pick to the Bengals.
Damn.
Second to last pick of the first round.
Okay. I was getting my hopes up there.
Yeah. No, you can go out and get Nakobe Dean. Go get it. Last year we drafted 2, Alabama guys. Let's trade up and get Nakobe Dean, the linebacker from Georgia. Why not?
How about Leo Chanel?
Dude, you're making me go through all these names. Dude, this is great. No, he is not in the top 25 players available.
Linebacker, Wisconsin.
Yeah, I don't see him on there. Again, making me change screens here. Linebacker, Wisconsin. Yeah, nope, that's Trent McDuffie. Yeah, he just must not be a top 25 player available, so maybe he will be available there. So
Desmond Ritter, that's a quarterback.
Yeah.
How about
Leo Chanel is available.
Here's a guy. I know you don't like small schools, but I was really looking at him a lot in mock drafts, and he was available a lot. When the Eagles were up in around this pick. How about Drake Jackson? He's an edge from USC.
USC is a small school, but yeah, he's listed as an edge / outside linebacker, 6'3", 254. Flashes an effective dip and rip moves, shows good torso flexibility. The second thing written up about him is his torso flexibility. Okay, that tells me that maybe he doesn't have quite as much. He has active hands. He shoots his hands in tight ends very well. Lean body is not effective taking on offensive tackles. I mean, sure. I mean, look, I want to see them get.
Could they?
I want to see an edge, a linebacker, or a safety with this 51st pick. Pick 19 in the second round.
Could they make a bold move and go for a guy that's injured, a Jobo?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they would trade up to get a Jobo.
No, if they take him at 51.
If he's there at 51, the Eagles absolutely. I think if a Joba is there at 51, just send the card in right now. Pretty much anybody from like 45 to 55 in the draft should just send the card in with a Joba's name on it if he's available. Because, I mean, before the injury, he was going to be a top 15 player. So, yeah, I don't know. I just want to see them continue to work on the offense. I'm dead set that A.J. Brown makes this offense complete. The only question mark on our offense right now is Jalen Hurts. Everything else is set on that offense. Work on the defense.
Are we going to take a running back?
Not in the second or third round. I'm not taking a running back. Not at this point. I'll wait. I'll take somebody in the 5th round or 6th round. I'll pick up a free agent guy, undrafted free agent. But at this point, I'm zoning in on that defense. Edge, linebacker, safety. Although maybe not even safety. Does not taking Kyle Hamilton convince you that the Eagles are going to go out and get the honey badger now, Tyrann Mathieu?
That's what my thought is. I've had that thought for a while.
Go get edge rusher and a linebacker in the 2nd and 3rd rounds. Go sign Tyrann Mathieu. Your offseason complete. Howie Roseman does another A-plus job in the offseason. I don't know.
On paper.
On paper. Okay.
It still has to come to fruition.
Jason all of a sudden has gone from this high of highs to pump the brakes. I'm normally the guy that says pump the brakes. Jason's telling me to pump
Well,
the
it
brakes.
still has to come to fruition in reality.
On a Friday morning here. Yeah. All right.
What?
So yeah, I mean, I want to see defense. I want to see defense, and I want to see defense.
I have a question for you. It's not Eagles related, but it's football. Where does Malik end up?
Well, we're going to talk about that here. Let me switch screens again here. Let me see. Round 2.
Good transition.
Yeah, let's see here. So I'm looking at the board here. Who's got what picks? Because there was legitly like 100 trades yesterday. So I got to refresh the board. You go down the second round here. First pick of the second round, Tampa Bay. Actually, does Tampa Bay draft Tom Brady's replacement at 33?
They already have him.
Yeah. Who?
You don't like him. He's from Florida.
Okay. Minnesota, do they draft Kirk Cousins' replacement at 34? Nah. The Titans aren't going to draft him. The Giants, no. The Texans maybe at 37. The Seahawks maybe at 40. The Seahawks got 40 and 41. They could take him there. Going down the board, if he falls past there, Falcons at 43 maybe. Browns
I think
at 44.
What are the odds of one of those teams trading up because they want him?
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people had Ridder to Detroit at the end of the first round. They picked 46, so I would think that they would take Riddler there at 46, not, Willis. So Willis would probably go before 46, in my opinion. The Saints don't pick till 49, so maybe the Saints find a way to move up. I don't know I can't click that many screens. I don't know what all the draft capital is left on all these teams yet. But there's a chance that quarterbacks continue to fall if somebody doesn't trade up. There's a really good chance there. So, I don't know. Does Carolina try to get – Carolina doesn't even have a second-round pick? Carolina doesn't even have a second-round pick, so I don't even know how they would get back into the second round to do that. But, yeah, I mean, let's talk about that round 1. And before we talk about the top of the board, let's just talk about – I said it, positions going on runs was the key. And quarterbacks did not go on a run. Kenny Pickett to Pittsburgh at 20. Pittsburgh, I was dead set that Pittsburgh was going to have to trade up to get a quarterback. They did not. They sat at 20. They got their guy to replace Ben Roethlisberger. And that was the only quarter. Like, I don't even know if I can remember the last time more than one quarterback wasn't taken in the first round. It's crazy to say. Maybe, so everyone was saying it was a bad quarterback class. I was saying, well, maybe we were underrating it. Well, maybe the experts were right, and this was not a really good quarterback class because nobody reached for a quarterback. And it literally blows my mind.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm a little bit dumbfounded as to how there was only one in the first round. We're used to
with a lot of teams that needed one.
We're used to like 5 or 6 at least.
In the top 10.
I mean, in recent track records and history of drafts, it's been every year hot and heavy on the quarterback.
Yeah.
But you see it this year, it's defensive end, edge. Yeah. I say defensive end. That term is loosely
It's no longer used defensive end. It is now edge. You got to get the word right. It's the edge position. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of crazy. I mean, obviously, everyone was saying it was a bad class, but still, teams need quarterback. And if you look at how this draft played out, I mean, Carolina was the team that everybody thought needed a quarterback, was good to be the first one. And they took a tackle. They took Ekwonu from North Carolina State. So they got their tackle to protect Sam Darnold or whoever's playing quarterback. But I don't know. It's kind of curious. And I think the first let's look at the whole draft and the way it played out. Jacksonville, I think, kind of surprised people. Some people had Trayvon Walker going 1 overall to them. But again, Georgia, they're great defense, just like Jordan Davis. Trayvon Walker, taken 1 overall. Did Jacksonville make a mistake by not taking Aiden Hutchinson, number 1 overall?
I mean, it depends. I think Trayvon Walker to me is like basically a boom or bust type guy. It's a high risk, high reward pick. So somebody could get fired over this. That's how bad it could end up. Or it could end up being that, wow, they they actually nailed the best player in the draft. Like, I believe Walker has that kind of a ceiling. It's just a matter of can he get there or will he get there? And that's the problem with taking somebody like that with the first pick, because a guy like Aiden Hutchinson is more pro ready, kind of like you're getting enough who you know, as opposed to somebody that, you know, some experts are saying is could be the best guy, and some are saying, oh, he's a bust. You know what I mean? Like, that's why it's so mind-boggling why someone would risk that with the first pick. But, you know,
and to them taking that risk, the most, you know, I don't want to say the best player in the draft, the player with the definite, like, unless he gets hurt, Aiden Hutchinson's going to be a really good player. His floor is the highest out of anybody. He might not have the highest ceiling out of anybody. Trayvon Walker's got the higher ceiling, but you know Hutchinson's going to come in day one and wreak havoc. And he falls in Detroit's lap at number 2. And then this is where it gets interesting. Stingley and Gardner going 3-4, Texans and Jets. That's kind of crazy in my opinion, that those two guys went 3 and 4 there. First off, the guys going there. Secondly, teams investing a 3rd and a 4th overall pick in a cornerback, I think, is insane.
Not necessarily. I think cornerback, if you look at a guy that you think could be generational, you know, Derek Stingley, of the two, Derek Stingley to me is more of a playmaker. Sauce Gardner is more of a shutdown guy, like a Darrelle Revis type cornerback. They're both elite and have the ability to, you know, be an upper echelon guy for 10 years, you know, to come. So I don't necessarily think it's a reach to take those guys. I was surprised at the order. I thought Stingley would be available a little bit later. I thought Gardner was definitely the first one going off the board. But like I said, I think a lot of teams might start pivoting their philosophy, because, you know, the league is becoming such a wide receiver driven league.
Yeah.
You have all these, you know, top tier wide receivers coming out in the drafts.
Right.
Like, wide receivers every year, if you haven't noticed, every single year, even in the last 4 years, the amount of wide receivers taken in the first round is going up every time.
We're going to talk wide receiver in a second. I do want to say, though, that the way these first 4 picks went, man, the Giants, in my opinion, may have had one of the best first rounds of any of these teams. Kayvon Thibodeau falling to them at 5. Someone I projected as the number 2. I had Hutchinson, Thibodeau 1-2. Thibodeau falling to 5. I talked about the Giants know the importance of an edge. They had Michael Strahan. They had JPP. They've had elite defensive end play when they've gone to Super Bowls and made deep playoff runs. They go out and get one of the top defensive ends in the draft, and then at 7, go get probably the best tackle in the draft. Protect Danny Dimes. That is not old school Giants, you know, being stupid front office. That's a pretty smart draft right there. And maybe I'm overvaluing it because we're so used to the Giants screwing up. But that's not screwing up. That is making the best pick possible at each spot.
So what you're saying is that their draft was not Gettleman-esque?
It was. Is that in the Webster dictionary as a word? Gettleman-esque? Is that a word?
It could be.
It is now. So I think that's a really great thing. And then you want to talk wide receivers. Then we had from 8, 9, 10, and 11, and 12. 5 picks there. 4 out of 5. There's your position run. I said a position run dictates a draft. And you start with pick 8 there, Drake London, the fact that Drake London was the first wide receiver off the board.
That's a head scratcher.
That's a head scratcher to me. Big time head scratcher right there.
I don't know what.
But that's what happens. A run goes on wide receivers. Garrett Wilson, you know, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams. Team started, bing, bang, boom, off the board. And that makes people like Jordan Davis, Kyle Hamilton start to fall, which then makes the Eagles want to make up a move. You know, makes teams want to make moves to get the guy they want, because all of a sudden guys start slipping off the board or slipping down the board because, you know, hell, Drake London should have been the third or fourth wide receiver. Drake London should not have been a top 10 pick. Drake London should have been like after the 15th pick, in my opinion. That's about where he would have gone on my board at best.
I mean, most people had, of the list, most people had, and when I say most, I'm talking at the experts, the draft nerds.
We're not
experts.
experts.
I call them. Most had Garrett Wilson as being the number one.
Yep.
Jameson Williams, number 2, Chris Olave, number 3, and Drake London, number 4. And it actually went Drake London, Garrett Wilson, and then Olave actually went ahead of Williams, which is a little bit of surprise, but not because I think Chris Olave before this year, it was probably neck and neck with Jameson Williams. So I don't really – I think Wilson kind of was one of those guys that kind of came out this year that kind of, turned heads and he jumped ahead of those guys.
But then when you have a run like that, you also have things like Washington. We knew Washington wanted a wide receiver. Washington reaches and takes Jonah Dotson with the 16th pick.
Yeah, that's definitely I think Jonah Dotson could have been available in the second round.
Exactly.
First.
That kind of reminds me a lot of what the Giants did with what's his name last year. They missed out on Monte. Yeah, with Tony. Yeah, they missed out on their number one guy, but they wanted that position no matter what. That they just reached and took somebody, and that's what it's got. It's got. I mean, I guess Dotson will have the pleasure of playing opposite of Scary Terry McLaurin, so he might actually have the ability to succeed to an extent.
The funny thing is, they could have taken Treylon Burks. Now Treylon Burks is more of a bigger guy with the wingspan, and maybe like you just said, maybe they want the other wide receiver on the outside to complement Terry. But I think Tennessee obviously trades A.J. Brown and then drafts his replacement.
It just goes to show that they didn't want to pay. They didn't want to pay a wide receiver. And we talked about this multiple times. Are you willing to pay a wide receiver? And Tennessee wasn't, the Eagles were.
Yeah, and I think this could be setting a precedence for future teams now that might be in the same situation. You might start seeing this draft day. They trade the guy that wants the big contract, and then they draft his replacement, whoever that might be. Now, is Treylon Burks going to be as good as A.J. Brown? Probably not, but you don't know. I mean, it's a crapshoot. The draft is a crapshoot. So I think
and anybody else in this draft that you saw fall that you're surprised? I mean, I was kind of surprised at George Karlaftis with the importance of an edge rusher and Jermaine Johnson, 26 and 30.
Jermaine Johnson is the biggest surprise to me because I saw Jermaine Johnson in some mocks be in the top 10.
Yeah.
And he went, 26
to the Jets. The Jets had a strong draft. They got Jermaine Johnson, they got Garrett Wilson, and they got Sauce Gardner. So they got themselves 2 cornerstones for defense, and they got themselves a weapon for Zach Wilson.
Yeah, the Jets.
The Jets cleaned up. The Jets cleaned up big time.
I give that an A+ to get Jermaine Johnson at 26. Yeah, that Jets definitely nailed the home run. They probably had the best draft out of all of them, and the Giants had a good one.
Yeah, you talk about guys that fall down the board. There was one point in the draft process that Tyler Linderbaum was going to be a top 10 guy, and everybody told me I was crazy when I'm like, "There's no way a center goes in the top 10 or 15 in the draft." Everyone's like, "Well, this guy's generational. This guy's going to be great. The Eagles need to move up to get him, to get the replacement for Kelsey." And I said, absolutely no way. And this guy was trending up the draft board. Then all of a sudden started trending down. I mean, where did he go? 25th to Baltimore? I mean, they may have, if everybody was right on his generational talent, that might be a steal there in the first round, end of the first round.
Yeah, once again, that word we use loosely because we all agree that it's thrown around sometimes too much. But, that's unfortunately how the mind of the experts thinks, Well, is this the next generational talent? We do it with quarterbacks all the time, every single year. Who's the next guy? Who's the franchise? Like, it's just what happens. But, yeah, I think George Karlaftis to me is probably – I said Jermaine Johnson, but George Karlaftis going even later. A lot of people had him mocked to the Eagles at 18. I myself had him mocked to the Eagles. I don't know. That's like I said.
That's another strong draft. I mean, Kansas City getting Karlaftis at 30 and getting Trent McDuffie at 21. Some people had the Eagles mocked to get McDuffie at 15 and 18. So
it shows you how deep this draft was. Yes, I mean, there's a lot of high end talent.
Exactly. I mean, what's Kansas City's biggest problem? Why couldn't they win? Defense. They went out and got an edge rusher. Not the best one in the draft, but when you're constantly picking late in the draft, you're not always going to get the top end guys. They went out and got a cornerback. They went out and got a defensive end. They addressed their needs. Again, even Howie Roseman's learning. It seems like Andy Reid's learning too. These guys are realizing maybe it's time not to stretch and make a reach. Let's make the right pick at the right time. I think the Jets, the Eagles, the Giants all had fantastic day ones.
And Baltimore.
Is there anybody? I mean, I'm going to say Dallas didn't get any better. Tyler Smith, an offensive tackle at 24. When you had
You're Lions. Don't forget the Lions.
What about them? That they had a good draft?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting Aiden Hutchinson and then get Jameson Williams, one of my favorite players in the draft. Absolutely a great draft. I won't say Baltimore had a great draft because I don't know if Kyle Hamilton's the best pick for them at that spot. If I was Baltimore after seeing Jordan Davis go, my number one target.
They went best player available.
They did. But they already spent a lot of money on safety. Now they got two great safeties.
You can't fault a team for going best player available, though, because we always complain.
You already have too many people in the position.
Doesn't matter. You can always – I think the Baltimore Ravens' philosophy is defense first. So they always look to build the defense. See, even though you always say Howie builds in the trenches, Baltimore – builds on the outside. If you look at Baltimore's teams, it's always linebacker, safety, cornerback.
Right.
Not that they have bad interior lines, but they always build in a different way than Howie. Every team has different philosophies. You got to remember. I get what you're saying. That you, in your mind, in your opinion, it was probably not a smart pick. But to get Kyle Hamilton at pick 14 when some people think he's the best player in the draft, that to me is a home run. And Tyler Linderbaum, I mean, I don't know, man. How much can a safety? How much can a center really change a franchise? Like, I agree. So I don't think it's great, but I just said I think they're.
I think we're seeing a change of the guard in the NFC East right now. You had the Eagles and the Giants have great day ones, and the Cowboys and Washington have very questionable day ones. The two teams that were probably considered better, Washington and Dallas, trending downward. The two teams that are considered lesser teams, trending up in the AM. I think it's interesting. I think it really is. Any other things that stuck out from you? Because we're gonna move on here from the draft talk in a second. But I think that's pretty much it right there in the first round. I'll be really curious to see how today plays out when it starts back up tonight with round 2. As round 2 and 3 goes on, I'm gonna comment. AJ, Freddie, commenting on Mark's comment that marked down April 29th in the pantheon of days in Philadelphia sports top 10. That is a stretch, just like Freddie Depot is saying here. It is a stretch. I mean, we've had a lot of title days. Not a lot, but enough. Oh wait, there's a lot of days that rank higher than yesterday. But not if you take all title days, championships out of the equation, then maybe it ranks in the top 10 of days in Philly sports for sure. But yeah, any final thoughts on the draft before we move on? We've gone 54 minutes. I'm glad we started 20 minutes early because this is going to be an 80-minute episode right here. And I told you I had a hard 9:30 out time. We had to end right at 9:30. And it's going to be
started at 7:30 this morning if we were ready.
25 minutes left, and we haven't touched on the Sixers or the Phillies at all. Hey, yesterday was a great day. The Eagles had a successful draft. The Sixers wrapped up against the Raptors in dominating fashion. The Phillies swept the Rockies, and the Flyers didn't play, so they didn't lose. So it was a good day. We went 4 for 4 yesterday.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I didn't mean to take a dig at your Flyers.
You're fine.
We need to find my background here on the screen here. We got to find a way to eliminate the Flyers logo and put the Union logo in there. That's what I got to figure out how to do.
I have one funnier. Put an X through the Flyers and put the Union on top of it.
That's fine. If you know how to make that edit, you do it. Anybody watching knows how to make that edit, send it to me, and I'll put it up on the screen here. All right, so let's transition. Let's move on from the draft, okay? Because obviously, the Sixers. It wasn't Sixers in 5. It wasn't Sixers in 7. It was Sixers in 6. Hold on, we got some more comments coming here. Passing on Hamilton isn't bad if you have a plan. They have a plan. There are some solid linebackers and D-back. Yeah, Casey, we talked about it. It's going to be defense in the second and third round for the Eagles. I don't want to see any more offense taken whatsoever. Best player available at those positions: edge, safety, linebacker, cornerback. That's what they need to do. But anyway, the Sixers last night, they wrapped it up against Toronto, 132-97. Where was this Sixers team for the last 2 weeks, Jason? Literally, they came out, dominated the Raptors in the second. They beat up on the Raptors by 20 in the second quarter, or in the third quarter. In the third quarter, the Sixers scored more points than the Raptors did in the entire second half. Joel Embiid looked dominant. James Harden, he didn't look old school James Harden, but he played damn well.
It might have been his best game as a Sixer overall.
I did not know James Harden could dunk. Did you see James Harden throw down a dunk? Like a one-handed jam. I didn't know he could do that anymore.
I mean, obviously, we've been waiting for this forever. I think they were hibernating, this version of the Sixers, because
I mean, Tyrese Maxey, I talked about it on Scotty Talks yesterday. Tyrese Maxey was just a bad matchup for the Raptors. The length that the guys that were guarding him, it's just really tough to when you're 6'2" and you got a 6'8" guy guarding you who's actually quick enough to get in front of you defensively. It's just tough. All of a sudden, they made adjustments. They found ways to get open shots. And all of a sudden, the shots started falling. James Harden driving to the rim and actually, aggressively driving to the rim. I mean, literally everything that could have gone right went right. Does last night, here's the question. We're going up against Miami now. We're heading to South Beach. Great. We go from Toronto to South Beach. That's a big difference temperature-wise and party-wise. Is last night's performance a good enough performance for your confidence level to trend upward with this team? Was one game enough? All the negative that we saw in games 4, 5, and 6, or 3, 4, and 5. Because even though we won game 3, it took a last-second fadeaway jumper at the buzzer in overtime to win that game. So I'm still putting that as in the negative category of that game to an extent. 3, 4, and 5. All the negativity in those games. Was last night's game enough to turn it back into positive?
Yes, in my opinion, it is.
Okay.
Reason being is that it's another example of how this team has shown an ability to fight through adversity. Because let's face it, there's a lot of adversity going on because they hear the noise. They might not be on social media 24/7, but listen, they hear Sixers fans, and I'm sure they know that this city was uptight. And to put up a performance like that, I think that to me shows that they know that last night was super important. Because if they lost last night and went to game 7, it could go either way. It could be a coin flip. And I can't imagine how we would be feeling right now had they lost, being Sixers fans. So I think, Doc Rivers had them prepared to play, and they came out and showed that they can win in that dominating fashion. Now, are they going to dominate the Heat? Absolutely not. I mean, the Heat is definitely a step up to the Toronto Raptors. But I think it's a confidence thing. And you look at James Harden having probably, like I said, in my opinion, one of his best games as a Sixer. Not James Harden of old, but James Harden best that we've seen. And Tyrese Maxey bouncing back with another game, which shows that he's not regressing. He can have bad games and then come back and play well. So overall, my confidence meter is definitely trending up.
Okay. I mean, one of the key things from last night that, to me helps convince me it's trending up is the turnovers. that Raptors defense, that smothering defense. I mean, they were playing some sloppy basketball, the Sixers, for the last couple games. 18 turnovers, 23, I think it was in game 4. I mean, that's not Sixers old school process Brett Brown Sixers turning the ball over a lot. But this Sixers team, I mean, they were one of the best teams in control of taking care of the ball. Excuse me. They took care of the ball last night. They didn't let that smothering defense force them to make mistakes. Now, I think some of last night was just the fact that the Raptors burned out so much energy to get it back to a game 6 that maybe they were spent. There's a reason. So no team in NBA history has ever come back from 3-0. Only 3 teams in NBA history have ever even forced a game 7. That's how tough it is to do what the Raptors were trying to do. So just getting to that point, they may have expended so much energy. Their defense just wasn't as tight last night. Their defense just wasn't, as effective last night. So while I'm trending in the right direction like you, maybe I'm not trending as much because maybe some of the positives that we saw last night were just, the Raptors were, I don't want to say they were done. They were just energy level. They were done. Even the Toronto crowd, like the FMB chants and the Billy Embiid, it was just a little less loud last night than it was in game 4 and game 3. It was just a little bit less. So I don't know. I'm just thinking that, Miami, I think we could beat Miami. We match up better against Miami than we do Toronto, but I still think there are some concerns. But we now have 3 days off. I wish we would have had 5 or 6 days off. We've got 3 days off now to rest, to relax, head down to South Beach, maybe get some sun Sunday afternoon on the beach or something like that, and be ready for Miami. Can Doc Rivers, so Doc Rivers just had to outcoach Nick Nurse. Now he's got to go outcoach Spoelstra, who I think Spoelstra is a great head coach. He does not get the credit he deserves as a head coach. So we're going to go up into another matchup with another head coach that likes to make adjustments, that knows how to make adjustments. It's going to be an interesting series, but I'm just really glad that we got it done. Like you said, Game 7, anything can happen in a Game 7. Anything can happen. And I'm glad we don't have to worry about anything can happen on Saturday night.
I got to be honest with you. I'm glad that we're not facing Milwaukee or the Celtics in round 2. As much as
let them battle it out.
Exactly, because I think they're the 2 teams that worry me the most. Obviously, I think the Heat. Listen, and maybe this is me taking the Heat lightly. I know they won the East.
Yeah,
but I just think, to me, the Heat are more of like, I look at them as being like basically Jimmy Butler and a bunch of role guys. Not that the role guys aren't good. But
Jimmy Butler's backed up. Jimmy Butler sat Game 5, which was a closeout game against Atlanta. Or they beat Atlanta? They beat Atlanta in the first round. He's so banged up he did not play in a closeout game. So that's concerning. Kyle Lowry's old. Kyle Lowry's like 37 years old. They're not going to have the same energy and excitement. This is going to be one of the slowest series. The Sixers love to play that half-court offense. That's what the Heat do, too, because they're old. So it matches up great. But you're right. The Bucks-Celtics, that may be the best matchup of the entire NBA playoffs that's about to happen. It's going to go a full 7 games. They're going to bang it out. They're going to tear each other apart. Now, I'm not saying the Sixers are going to win quickly. I haven't really thought too long. Monday morning, we'll make our predictions right before that series starts. But that's the Sixers should be able to wrap up with the Heat, in my opinion, quicker than the Celtics-Bucks series, because that's going to be a hell of a series right there. That's going to be must-see basketball every single night, Celtics-Bucks.
And it's crazy because I thought that's how it was going to be with the Celtics and the Nets, but the Nets just
dumpster fire at this point, aren't they?
Whew.
Dumpster fire in Brooklyn there. And it's crazy. I don't even want to. I tried yesterday with my man Joe Castro. Shout out to everybody that's come on this week. Joe Castro and Chris Mel. Having both them on this week as we got ready for the draft, it was great. But Joe Castro's a Nets fan, so I wanted to bash him, but we spent so much time talking draft yesterday that that we really didn't get much time into that. So Philly, he hasn't chimed in once today. He chimes in on every morning show, to drop a Nets comment. He must be so upset he didn't even have the energy to drop a Nets comment in the comments section today. So yeah, that's a really great series. Great wrap up to that series there. Maybe everybody's learned something, and we're on to Miami and South Beach. I'm excited. I really am, dude. Joel Embiid has exercised the first demon of the Raptors. Now it's time to exercise the next demon, Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat.
Let's
And
go.
then we can move on and exercise the last demon, whether it's the Celtics. I actually want them to have to beat the Celtics just to clear it all out of the way all at once there. All right, so third thing happening in Philly sports yesterday. The Phillies get back to 500. The Phillies sweep the Rockies. And I don't think, hold on, let me pull up the box score. Okay, they did have one. They had only hit one home run. They scored 7 runs with one solo home run. They played small ball. They played baseball. They hit the ball. They drove in. They walked runners in. Multiple runners got brought in by walks. Are we seeing the Phillies turn a corner? Were they just a slow starting team? Or are there still concerns? And it's the Rockies, a team that had a good record but really wasn't a good team. Where are we with the Phillies at this point?
I think, and this is obviously just my opinion, I think it's a little bit of both for me.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to say that they've turned the corner. I have to see a little bit more because baseball's a large sample, and this is a small sample size in that large sample. But I look at little things. I look at Zach Wheeler, obviously looked a lot better to me. He looked more like the Zach Wheeler that
I saw a couple 94, 95 on the radar gun yesterday.
Yeah, so his velocity is a little bit up. I know he had 4 walks, but he did strike out 7 and he went 6 innings. So, and he didn't give up a run. No. So that in itself is a win. I'm very happy to see Alec Boehm continue to play well. That to me is, a very key thing for this Phillies team. Like if Alec Boehm can play the way that he's playing and hit 300 and knock in runs and provide that steady offensive bat, when the rest of these guys start hitting, it's all the more reason why this team is going to be ready to be, the lineup that we expected. So I'm starting to see that. Obviously Kyle Schwarber, he sat yesterday, which I think is necessary when somebody's batting like, 140 or whatever, like he is. You need a break.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not ready to say they've turned the corner, but I'm ready to say that it's a step in the right direction.
Quietly, Bryce Harper's got his average up to 276 now.
Yeah.
I mean, for as much as we were ready to bash Bryce Harper's already turned it around.
Phillies are hitting the ball. They're just not. They're still runners in scoring position was their biggest.
You're a baseball guy, maybe even more of a baseball guy, like stats wise and X's and O's more than I am. Because my problem with baseball is I can't take when I break down football in the draft or the Sixers game, I can take my fandom. I can be unbiased talking those sports. I can't with baseball. Phillies are my baby. They were always my first love. I can't be unbiased talking the Phillies. But I look at Alec Boehm. He's tied for the team lead in RBIs with 14 RBIs. He's the only guy that's consistently hit the ball all year long, even through all the defense struggles. And, shout out to that third baseman from the Rockies, man. I mean, we talk about how bad Alec Boehm was. I mean, he had probably one of the worst 4-game stretches at third base I've ever seen. But at what point do you consider Alec Boehm and having to move him up in the lineup? He's been in that 6-7 hole. If Kyle Schwarber plays yesterday, he's in the 7 hole. Boom. Kyle Schwarber didn't play. They moved him up to the 6 hole. At what point do you consider putting him in the 2 hole? Rhys Hoskins is struggling in that 2 hole.
I would do that flip now. I don't
or do you move JT Realmuto to the 2 hole and put Boehm in the 5 hole? Like, at what point do you consider putting Boehm in one of the premium spots in the lineup?
I think Boehm belongs the way that he's hitting and getting on base. I would put him in the 2 hole.
Okay.
And I would flip. I would do. Here's a bold prediction. How about putting Boehm as the leadoff hitter?
I talked about that a week ago. Why not?
I mean, Segura is definitely your best 2-hole hitter, so why not just put? I think you're doing a disservice by having Reese at number 2. I get it, like, but it's too much Kaplerism there. Like, I want Reese Hoskins. He's a power hitter. He belongs.
Jason, you're creating words left and right. Gettleman-isms and Kaplerisms added to the Webster Dictionary in one day. Look at you.
Reese Hoskins, like I said, I know that a lot of people say, oh, he gets on base. But the guy, you need to have protection in your lower half of the lineup. You're hurting guys like Harper, Castellanos, and Schwarber when you have Reese Hoskins in the number 2.
Yeah.
Put somebody in the number 2 hole that's actually getting on base. How about Alec Bohm?
Yeah. Bohm Segura or Segura Bohm or hell, I don't know. Yeah.
Bohm is almost at a 400 on base percentage right now.
Yeah.
375. Reese Hoskins is closer to 300. He's at 321.
So I'm going to give you the 3 options. It's Segura, JT, Bohm in the 5-hole. It's Segura, Bohm, leave Real Muto in the 5-hole, or Bohm, Segura, leave Real Muto in the 5-hole. They're your 3 options. Which way are you going?
I would do that.
What, Bohm in the 1, Segura in the 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's unique. Bohm does not look like a prototypical leadoff hitter, but, gets on base, drives and runs, walks, he does it all. And I'm just so excited the fact that the offense, the defensive woes, which honestly his defense hasn't even been that bad since that one game, did not affect him whatsoever. I'm stoked. Maybe those few games off that Joe Girardi gave him, after the errors, maybe that helped him reset his mindset a little bit. But man, you can't keep having him in the 6 and 7 hole. You just can't. That's my problem. And you need to do something to get him in that premium spot in a lineup.
And then can we talk about something that's not really being discussed enough, I think, and it's pretty funny.
Which one? Because I know there's 2, and they're both linked.
Okay, the fact that we're all of a sudden getting very, very, very good production out of this center field position with Odubel and Roman Quinn. Like,
I know. They were
those guys that I can't stand as players. I mean, as people. And, I know Odubel gets a lot of hate, and rightfully so. I mean, the guy did what he did, and listen. But as a baseball purist and as somebody that just, is, looking at the game from an outside perspective, Odubel and Quinn have given you 1,000 times more than Matt Vierling has given since he's gotten here. I mean,
the only downside is that Mickey Moniak might not have a spot on this team when he's healthy. That's the problem. Just like Stott, you can't not play him every day. So he probably has to stay at AAA, Mickey Moniak, right now. Look, Roman Quinn yesterday scored a run completely on his own. He had a bunt single, stole second, stole third. Reese Hoskins hits a fly ball. He scores with the sac fly. That's basically what's his name from the Major League the movie, the Wesley Snipes character. He gets on base. I got 100 of these. I see you at home and 90, whatever. Dude, he just keeps running around. That's what Roman Quinn did yesterday. Problem is, Roman Quinn is not 23 anymore. He's like 28 now. He has been injured and in this Phillies system for like 10 years now, being this potential. Willie Mays Hayes. That's why couldn't I think of Willie Mays Hayes? I don't know, dude. I've got so many things going on in my head right now, Freddie. I couldn't remember the exact name of them there. I mean, can we even? It could be July, and it could still be going on like this. I have less confidence in Roman Quinn staying healthy than Joel Embiid staying healthy.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way that you can't bring Moniak back. I mean, I think Roman Quinn still has a home. I think Odubel would be the odd man out to me, in my opinion. I know it's not going to happen that way, but that's what I.
It's going to be Odubel. It's going to be maybe they bring Moniak up and they send Vierling down because Vierling obviously needs to be sent down. maybe that's what they do.
I'm not a Matt Vierling hater, but I don't think Matt Vierling is a starting caliber center fielder.
Not yet, at least.
And I think if you sent Bryson Stott down knowing that he's not ready, I think that's the next move is when Moniak comes back, you send Vierling down.
Right.
And you keep the three outfielders. Obviously, right now with the DH, it allows you to have that extra option. Now, Bryce Harper obviously is still in the DH spot. How long is that injury going to linger? We don't know. I mean, these are all questions that kind of got to be answered. It's a matter of time. But to me, I'm just happy to have production out of that center field position. Period. Regardless of who it is. Like, I just think it's crazy that it's two guys that I can't stand, Tubal and Quinn.
I think it's hilarious. I think it is literally insane. All right, so the Phillies get back to 500. They're only 4 games out of first, and the Mets this week. We get the Mets. So the team that beat up on us earlier this month, literally like a week and a half ago. Now we get some chance. 3 games against the Mets, against Sunday Night Baseball on Sunday. The first time that I can remember all year the Phillies are actually the underdog. They're not the favorite team tonight. Tyler McGill, what would he go, like 6 innings, 5 1/3 innings, something like that, shut us out, shutout ball when we faced him before. Against Aaron Nola, who, again, we talked about it on Wednesday, I think, or Thursday. It was Wednesday, that the 4th trip through the starting rotation, all of a sudden the Phillies pitching is starting to play well, or pitch well. Does it continue with the fifth turn through the rotation? Can Aaron Nola put back-to-back strong performances on the board? I mean, this is a big moment. I don't want to say any series in April is more important than a series in September, but this is a huge series for the Phillies. They've turned a corner. They've won 4 straight. I'm not saying they have to sweep the Mets. Hell, 2-1 would be fantastic this weekend. Hell, I would say 1-2. You could probably, depending on how the games go, if they go 1-2, you could probably draw positives from it. But it starts tonight with a huge moment tonight. Aaron Nola coming out against the Mets. McGill, a pitcher that just straight dominated us the last time he faced us. What do you expect to see from this Mets series? Because what you hope isn't necessarily what's going to happen. So what do you expect to happen this weekend?
I expect the 1-2.
Okay.
I think they lose tonight.
Okay.
I think Tyler McGill is a guy that, although it's early, right now he's pitching, like a guy that, don't forget, he's the replacement for Jake DeGrom.
Basically, yeah.
Basically, and
damn well in his place.
You look at his numbers and it's like, wow, pretty eye-popping. So I think here's the thing. If the Phillies can play mistake-free baseball, and if they can go up there and actually live out what you and I have been preaching for all year, take some pitches. Don't go up there swinging at everything. Have a good plate discipline. Have a good approach at the plate. I think the game could go either way. But I just think right now the Mets are the better team. But the Phillies are on a hot streak. So let's keep that streak going. And like I said, I think they lose tonight. I'm just being honest. But I'm going to say they're going to lose 6-5. I think it'll be the starters will have a good game, and then I think it'll kind of be on the bullpen, and there'll be some.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that being the way it plays out. I would like to see 2-1. I see 1-2 as well, and that's nothing against the Phillies. It's just the Mets are playing great baseball. They're the hottest team to start the season. So, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. But if they come out of this weekend 2-1 against the Mets,
that's a win.
That's a major win right there. If they can get the first game of the series tonight, that's a major win in the Phillies win column. Major win. All right, we're gonna wrap it up there, man. We just went 80 minutes on Trending the AM, the longest Trending the AM. We might start at 8 a.m. more frequently, man. Or 8:10. Hell, maybe we'll start at 6 a.m. Doesn't the morning show go 4 or 5 hours on the dial? Maybe we'll do a 4-hour. No, I'm just kidding. There's no way I'm getting up for a 6 a.m. morning show. Not yet. Unless I'm getting paid. If you want to sponsor the show and pay me, I will do a 4-hour morning show every day. But until then, it's just going to be 60 to 80 minutes long. Everybody have a great Friday, a great weekend. Dude, we are starting this weekend off so positive. A.J. Brown is an Eagle. The Sixers beat the Heat, and the Phillies just swept the Rockies. They didn't beat the Heat. They beat the Raptors, and they're going to Miami to play the Heat. I'm so fired up. The Phillies swept the Rockies, dude. It was a great weekend, or a great start to the weekend here last night and yesterday. I'm so pumped. Thank you. A great week at Trending in the AM. A great week on DSM Media is wrapping up. We'll be back on Monday. Overreaction Monday. We're going to overreact to everything. The Sixers beating the Heat in Game 1. The Phillies sweeping the Mets. All the other great stuff that happens in the draft. We're going to overreact to all that on Monday. That's my man, Jason Voorhees. Shoot him a follow at Mustang3651. I am Phil Stifel at Beard and Knowledge. Trending in the AM every Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. Turn the notifications and subscribe button on DSM Media so you do not miss it. You don't want to miss a second of it. Yo, what are we saying here?
A.J. Brown, baby.
That's an Eagle, baby.
Let's go.
A.J. Brown, baby.